The Cold War is the defining event of the geopolitical conflict of the 20th century.
The nuclear weapon played a key role in the Cold War period by the so-called arms race and the balance of terror.
There was a great deal of concern that the entire world might be totally devastated if we have another Hiroshima, Nagasaki.
I remember most vividly, as so many of my age do, duck and cover drills in grade school, where we'd put our heads underneath the desk. Of course, that had little bearing on our safety and much more on our psychic awareness that there's an enemy out there and it's threatening our lives.
Nuclear weapons, we have not gotten rid of them.
The issues that happen there still define us and still limit us and still cost us dearly.
Today, the problem areas are North Korea, India, Pakistan, Israel. They have nuclear weapons. The world today is seeking to put a stop to all that.
The Rocky Flats nuclear weapons plant started in 1951, just north of Denver, 16 miles north of Denver. The plant manufactured the nuclear components of the nuclear weapons in the US arsenal, sometimes referred to as the trigger. So all the nuclear weapons in the US arsenal today still have that component from Rocky Flats. Roughly 50,000 people worked there during the years. It existed throughout the Cold War era. When it was closed, all the buildings were taken down, so there's nothing anymore left of the nuclear weapons plant today.
The site has been returned to one of the few pristine areas along the Front Range.
The Rocky Flats Institute and Museum has as its mission to protect and preserve the history of Rocky Flats.
To remember the impact economically and socially because of that huge plant. And to remember as well the social consequences, the resistance, the protest, the FBI raid, the fires. For people to come out and see where the plant was is to understand a lot about its history.
We are developing temporary exhibits and programs that show different aspects of Rocky Flats, the nuclear weapons plant, but that also help people understand how the Rocky Flats plant may be gone now, but the nuclear issues are still relevant in our world today. We ultimately hope to build our own museum and institute. And the ideal location would be the former plant site, where people can envision where it all took place, where Rocky Flats was built, where it was located. We also would like to put it in a much broader context. So talk about the network of nuclear facilities in the country that existed during the Cold War. Talk about the global impact of the Cold War era, which is still continuing today.
Part of the Institute's goal is to be a place where we can rely on technologies to communicate that dialogue globally.
The Global Nuclear Institute could bring people from different countries together. It could be exchange of ideas. It could look into what future prospects are, how peaceful use of this kind of energy can help. I think this museum or institute can do wonders in bringing to people's attention the horrors and at the same time telling them that there might be a future where these nuclear energy can play an important role.
By presenting exhibits and programs in a new way, that it can open up a space for dialogue.
Dialogue is where you gradually move from toleration to respect to acceptance.
The museum and institute can only happen with the involvement of a lot of people.
By supporting the Rocky Flats Institute and Museum, you will be part of an ongoing conversation about nuclear weapons, nuclear power, nuclear energy.
To participate can mean a lot of things. It can be sponsoring a room at the museum. It can be sponsoring an exhibit. It can be being part of developing the new museum plant. As a socially responsible corporation or foundation, this is an excellent opportunity to come forward and to raise this hard issue.
It's not simply an issue of the 20th century, it is the issue of the 21st century. We must not ignore that issue.
These weapons were meant to protect our freedom. But there is a lot of irony to that also when you think of it, because what is freedom really if you have nuclear weapons? And we're all looking for a good life. However, there is so much that prohibits us from doing that.
I am an incorrigible optimist. So, we can't surrender.